और सेकेंडरी आपको जो 2 सेंटेंस फॉर्मेशन और वो वाली जो एक्सरसाइज दी गई है वो करनी है। बिना वो किए कोई घर वापस नहीं जाएगा, ठीक है? तो टाइम करके उन दोनों एक्सरसाइजेस को करना कंप्लीट होनी चाहिए। और जो बाकी आपके कल परसों के क्लासेस में हो रहे थे वो कंप्लीट हो रहे हैं ना? आधे अधूरे तो नहीं छूट रहे हैं कि नहीं बस हो गया, अब मन नहीं है, अब कल करेंगे। By the way, your performance in the second this mock has been very good, Yash. But then you guys need to study. अच्छा चलो, अब जल्दी इस पे आओ, मैं बेसिक वो पूछती जाऊंगी और आप मुझे जवाब देते जाएंगे. For all those who are watching us online, these are examination papers, the CLAT question papers which have been asked from 2022 to 2024. ठीक है? कौन सा गिफ्ट? ओह मैं तो भूल गई थी, तो याद दिलाना पड़ता है ना. अच्छा अच्छा ठीक है. देखो पता है ऑनेस्टली किसने कितना पेपर दिया है वो मुझे जब रिजल्ट आएगा ना तुम लोग का क्लैट का तो सब दिख जाएगा. ठीक है, आई विल टेल यू व्हाई. बिकॉज जिसका जिसका सिलेक्शन हो जाएगा मैं मान लूंगी कि उसने ऑनेस्टली पेपर दिया था, है ना? ठीक है, तो उससे मतलब बाकी तो ठीक है. बाकी इट इज अप टू यू हाउ यू वांट टू स्टडी, हाउ यू वांट टू अटेम्प्ट द एग्जाम. दैट्स ऑल योर क्या बोलते हैं डिसीजन मेकिंग, एंड यू नीड टू डिसाइड फॉर योरसेल्फ जुडिशियसली. ठीक है, चलो ओके, कम बैक टू दिस. Public speaking is a powerful real life skill. Over the centuries, impressive speeches made by people from various walks of life have helped to change hearts, minds, and shape the world as we see it today. Speeches that are delivered with intense emotions and conviction can infuse compassion and forgiveness, elevate levels of hatred and destruction, break or unite nations. On October 5 in 1877, in the mountains of Montana Territory, when Chief Joseph surrendered to General Nelson A. Miles, the former gave a surrender speech. The speech included these words: "It is cold and we have no blankets. The little children are freezing to death. I want time to look for my children and see how many of them I can find. Maybe I shall find them among the dead. Hear me, my chiefs, I am tired. My heart is sick and sad. From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever." The heart-wrenching speech bared the grief and misery of the speaker and those subjected to overwhelming hardships. During World War II, the speech "We Shall Fight on the Beaches" delivered by Winston Churchill on June 4, 1940, is considered a high-powered speech that strengthened the determination of those present in the House of Commons. In the speech, he said, "Even though large tracts of Europe and many old and famous states have fallen or may fall into the grip of the Gestapo and all the odious apparatus of Nazi rule, we shall not flag or fail. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island. Whatever the cost may be, we shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills." In 1950, William Faulkner was honored with a Nobel Prize for his significant contributions to the American novel. This was the time when the Soviet Union had found the possible implications of the use of atomic bomb and people had begun to live in the fear of annihilation. In his Nobel Prize acceptance speech, Faulkner urged writers of various genres to think and write beyond the fear of destruction and instead write materials that would lift the human spirit. The powerful message included, "I believe that man will not merely endure, he will prevail. He is immortal not because he alone among creatures has an inexhaustible voice, but because he has a soul, a spirit capable of compassion and sacrifice and endurance. The poets, the writers' duty is to write about these things. It is his privilege to help man endure by lifting his heart, by reminding him of the courage and honor and hope and pride and compassion and pity and sacrifice which have been the glories of his past. The poet's voice need not merely be record of man, it can be one of the props, the pillars to help him endure and prevail. Undoubtedly, effective speeches have a long lasting impact on the minds of the listeners, and they elevate the levels of awareness or actions the speaker intends to raise or catalyze. The main idea of the passage is that इतना टाइम लगेगा तो पूरा पेपर अटेम्प्ट कैसे होगा? All leaders should be accomplished public speakers. A speech should sound pleasing to the ears of the listeners. Public speakers should be bold and argumentative. Excellent. The tone of the surrender speech is इसके लिए नॉलेज होनी चाहिए किसकी? नहीं, वर्ड्स की. क्या मतलब होता है इसका? सटायरिक का क्या मतलब होता है? एलिमिनेशन मेथड का इस्तेमाल करो. एलिमिनेशन मेथड का इस्तेमाल करो. सटायरिक का मतलब पता है? ऑप्टिमिस्टिक का मतलब पता है? ठीक है. ऑप्टिमिस्टिक का मतलब समथिंग दैट इज पॉजिटिव. ठीक है, विच मेक्स यू ऑप्टिमिस्टिक, विच इज पॉजिटिव इन नेचर. तो ये तो 100% नहीं होगा क्योंकि सरेंडर स्पीच पूछा जा रहा है. ठीक है, तो क्या है? पहली चीज तो समझ में आ गई कि कोई दुखद स्पीच है. दुखद स्पीच जो ऊपर दी हुई है उसके बारे में बात हो रही है. नार्सिसिस्ट का क्या मतलब होता है? हाँ, ठीक है. सटायरिक का क्या मतलब होता है? समथिंग दैट इज सटायरिकल इन नेचर, विच इज पन इंटेंडेड इन नेचर, जिसमें बार बार हम ये कहते हैं अरे तुम ऐसा कैसे कर सकते हो, ऐसे कर सकते. वो वाली जो टोन होती है ना, किसी को टॉन्ट करने वाली, वो होती है सटायरिकल इन नेचर. अ सटायर इज जनरली अ टॉन्ट. ठीक है, समथिंग दैट इज taunting in nature can be called as satirical in nature, but satires are altogether a different genre of writing. याद रखना ये चीज. ठीक है, सिर्फ टॉन्ट ही सटायर नहीं होता है. सटायरिकल राइटिंग्स आर सटायर्स आर डिफरेंट जॉनर, जिसमें आप किसी चीज को क्रिटिसाइज करते हो बट इन द पॉजिटिव सेंस. राइट? बचा क्या? समझ में आया? तो अगर आपको दो नहीं आते हैं और दो आते हैं तो भी आप एलिमिनेशन मेथड से ही लिख लो चाहे, तो एलिमिनेशन मेथड से यू विल बी एबल टू अटेम्प्ट क्वेश्चंस लाइक दिस. ठीक, लेकिन कुछ तो पता ही होना चाहिए. अब ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि द टोन ऑफ द सरेंडर स्पीच आंसर तुम ऑप्टिमिस्टिक करके आ रहे हो. दैट इज नॉट करेक्ट. ओके, उसके बाद आओ. इट इज एविडेंट दैट थ्रू हिज स्पीच चर्चिल विश्ड टू हिज कंट्रीमैन. क्या विश किया था चर्चिल ने अपने कंट्रीमैन को? जल्दी बताओ. और बाकी साथ में नहीं जाना है बेटा, पेपर अटेम्प्ट करने हैं, सब अलग अलग करेंगे. एडमिट कार्ड आने वाला है. सेकेंड वीक. It is evident that through his speech Churchill wished to his countrymen that तुमने क्या आंसर बोला? सी. सी, फिर से पढ़ो। ये या तो नहीं, एक जवाब दो। क्या बोला? करेक्ट। क्वेश्चन फिर से पढ़ो, क्या लिखा है? इट इज एविडेंट दैट थ्रू हिज स्पीच चर्चिल विश्ड टू हिज कंट्रीमेन that reassure that they would combat fiercely against their enemy under all circumstances. मैं पहाड़ पे भी लड़ूंगा, मैं नदी में भी लड़ूंगा, मैं यहाँ भी लड़ूंगा, मैं वहां भी लड़ूंगा, मैं आकाश में भी लड़ूंगा, मैं पाताल में भी लड़ूंगा. What is this? So it is a reassurance from Winston Churchill that they are going to fight the rule in all circumstances. See क्या कह रहा है? Remind how their endeavors to fight against the Nazi rule had failed miserably. ये थोड़ी है, ये तो नेगेटिव हो गया ना. अगर मुझे तुम लोगों को प्रॉम्प्ट करना है कि तुम एग्जाम में अच्छा परफॉर्म करो, तो मैं नेगेटिव साइड पे ले जाके थोड़ी बताऊंगी ये. अरे ये तो तुम लोगों ने बहुत बेकार किया है, बट कोई बात नहीं. That's not what it's trying to say, na? Which one of the following is least likely to be used to describe Churchill? आंसर इसका तब तक नहीं दे पाओगे जब तक मतलब नहीं पता होंगे शब्दों के. मतलब बताओ इस शब्द का. हाँ, जिसको हिलाया ना जा सके. ठीक है. In the sentence, the poet's voice need not merely be the record of a man, it can be one of the props, the pillars to help him endure and prevail. Faulkner has used to convey the power of a poet's writings. ए और बी क्यों नहीं है? तो क्या होगा? मेटाफोर क्या होता है? सिविली क्या होता है? तो क्या है ये? A poet's voice need not merely be the record of a man, it can be one of the props, the pillars to help him endure and prevail. Faulkner has used this to convey the power of a poet's writings. Props means ये जो आप goods इस्तेमाल करते हो, कोई टेबल, कोई चेयर, कोई सामान जो आप यूज कर रहे हो, कोई ग्लास, कोई बॉटल, that can be regarded as a prop. सोच लो पहले, मैं थोड़ी पेपर अटेम्प्ट कर रही हूँ. ठीक है. वो एक फ्रेज सुना है तुमने, जैसे किसी वुमन के तारीफ में, किसी लड़की के तारीफ में बोलते हैं, शी लुक्स एज फ्रेश एज अ डेजी. शी लुक्स एज फ्रेश एज अ डेजी. वो फूल तो नहीं बन जाएगी ना. तुम कंफ्यूज कर रही हो उसको डैफोडिल से. अ होस्ट ऑफ गोल्डन डैफोडिल्स, वो अलग चीज है. ओके. अब As a 6-year-old child beggar, Saro slept off in a stationary train in Khandwa, Madhya Pradesh. However, when he woke up, he found himself in an empty compartment of a train thundering towards Kolkata, where he spent a couple of weeks in a state of panic and hopelessness. Finally, he ended up in a local government adoption center, from where he was adopted by an Australian couple. 25 years later, Saro felt the urge to trace his biological mother and see in what state she lived. Relentlessly, he used Google's satellite feature to map the parts of the country that could have possibly been his own hometown. The search was a long and arduous one. इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? Nevertheless, the perseverance did pay. One of the eventful day, he met his mother. Thereafter, he continued to keep in touch with her. If technology can unite people with their loved ones, it can also make them distant. The unlimited variety of applications available to toddlers, teenagers, and adults might have revolutionized their lives for the better, but these very apps have snatched away the joys of long nature walks. They have encroached upon the time and space that people earlier used for physical interaction. They have drilled deep chasms of loneliness in the lives of the countless numbers of people. Simple pleasures of life include visiting friends and relatives, playing matches in open spaces, interacting with people in markets, public libraries, and clubs. However, with the escalating rage of using apps like those for social media, playing virtual games, and home delivery services, these joyous moments are fading into oblivion, and the pall of loneliness is getting heavier by the day. इसका क्या मतलब होता है? Comes from the word which means unaware. Where are we heading to? Are we going to allow ourselves to be swarmed by apps? Are we going to allow social media to engulf us in a deluge of loneliness and isolation? Are we going to drive ourselves to situations that will ultimately demand mental and physical therapies to regain normalcy? Do we not know that physical interaction is an essential for the mental health as food and water is for physical health? Earlier, social isolation was mostly experienced by some of the elderly people who were devoid of an occupation. Devoid मतलब खाली, empty, उनके पास कुछ था नहीं करने को, ठीक है, of an occupation, and bereft of company. Bereft मतलब अलग थलग, ठीक, of company of their loved ones. Unfortunately, today, an unhealthy solitude prevails among numerous children, teenagers, and adults too. Subsequently, there is an alarming increase in the demand for mental health therapy practitioners. The necessity of engaging psychologists in schools and colleges is evidently on the rise. The psychologists are required to identify and address the learning and behavioral needs of students who approach them for guidance. Moreover, if required, the professionals are expected to help them in strengthening their emotional, social, and academic skills. Regardless how alarming the situation might be, it is never too late. If people revert to earlier trend of shopping offline, people going for nature walks, playing outdoor games, and catching up with friends in their homes or cafes more frequently, they can keep their heads firmly well above the ocean of loneliness. From the passage, it is evident that Saro's desire to find his mother in the sentence, these very apps have snatched away the joys of long nature walks. The author has yes. From the passage, one can conclude that it is impossible for people to reduce the usage of apps. There is a direct correlation between loneliness and हाँ बताओ आंसर बताओ. What is the conclusion? What can you conclude from the passage? Okay. From the passage, it can be inferred that presently in many educational institutions, B. 10th, ये बताओ, writer's tone. In the concluding paragraph पूछा है, पूरे पैसेज में नहीं पूछा है, इन द कंक्लूडिंग पैराग्राफ बताओ. इन द ये ध्यान रखना, बी वेरी केयरफुल ऑफ व्हाट द क्वेश्चन इज आस्क्ड. अगर खाली ये पूछा जाता इन द गिवन पैसेज तब आंसर हो सकता था ये, ठीक है. बट क्योंकि आपसे पूछा गया है लास्ट पैसेज, सॉरी लास्ट पैराग्राफ, तो आंसर होगा ऑप्टिमिस्टिक. ठीक है, अभी आओ. Wash, 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 wash your hands. That's been the safety mantra ever since the pandemic COVID-19 began swamping the world. Undoubtedly, washing hands has proven to be the best way to keep germs at bay. Unfortunately, the medical practitioner who first promoted the importance of the simple activity was subjected to intense humiliation and ultimately declared insane. Ignaz Semmelweis was a Hungarian doctor. In 1847, he, as an he was disturbed that post delivery almost every third woman died of an unexpected malady. He observed that as a part of the set routine, medical students and doctors would examine and study the corpses in the mortuary and then come for rounds to the maternity wards. Here, without washing their hands, they would examine expectant mothers. After making numerous hypotheses and observations, he was convinced that when doctors washed their hands before examining the woman in the ward, the number of deaths due to serious infection declined. He shared his observations with his colleague and many others working in the field of medicine, but unfortunately, he could not provide any concrete evidence to his theory. Sadly, due to the vehement criticism that he received, मतलब क्या होता है इसका? He went into depression. Furthermore, Ignaz strived to prove his point so relentlessly that it led to the belief that he had lost his mind. In 1865, a doctor deceptively lured him into an asylum for the insane, and 2 weeks of the brutal treatment that was meted out to him by the attendants led to his ultimately untimely death. About 20 years later, when the world became more receptive to the works of scientists like Louis Pasteur and Joseph Lister, awareness regarding germs that cause disease began to spread. This is the time when Ignaz was honored with the titles like Father of Hand Hygiene and Savior of Mothers, an honor much too late. Some of the most celebrated artists have earned fame much after their deaths. It is tragic that Vincent van Gogh's awe-inspiring work was labeled as strange and amateur by most of the critics of his time. It is believed that he sold only 1 or 2 paintings in his lifetime, and that too for a meager amount. Today, every single painting of Vincent van Gogh's paintings is worth millions of dollars. ये जानते हो कौन है? एक पेंटिंग बहुत आपने बहुत प्रेवलेंटली देखी होगी, एक आदमी की. मैं मोनालिसा की बात नहीं कर रही हूं. हाँ, ब्लू है, बैकग्राउंड ब्लू है, एंड देयर इज अ फेस ऑफ द मैन बस्ट. Franz Kafka was a proficient writer, but when he published a few pieces of his writings, he received immense criticism. Before his death in 1924, he handed over his unpublished novels and short stories to his friend Max Brod and urged him to destroy them. However, Brod got the manuscripts published. Today, Franz is acclaimed as one of the major fiction writers of the 20th century. The novels titled The Trial, published in 1925, ये आपके सिलेबस का पार्ट है, ये पढ़ाया जाएगा आपको. मतलब हमें पढ़ाया गया था, आई एम अज्यूमिंग आप लोगों को भी पढ़ाई जाएगी. एक्सेप्शनली रिटन नॉवल बाय फ्रांस काफ्का, अमेजिंग अमेजिंग बुक. And The Castle, published in 1926, are considered two of his masterpieces. Perhaps if humans were more tolerant and amenable to change, innovative concepts, theories, and creations, the deserving would live to experience the glory and honor they rightfully deserve. Okay. Vehement का क्या मतलब होता है? बहुत ज्यादा. ठीक. Was meted out to him. Untimely death तो पता ही है. Meager amount, छोटा सा. The main idea of the passage is that the main idea of the passage is that the main idea of the passage is that D. From the passage, it is evident that Dr. Ignaz's theory was rejected because वही तो था ना, बोला तो यही गया ना, उनको पागल डिक्लेयर कर दिया. हाथ दो हाथ दो हाथ दो बोल रहे थे, पागल नहीं. From the passage, one can conclude that the art critics who Van Gogh's works were from the passage it can be inferred that Max Brod. तो देख रहे हो, ये पर्सन स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हैं. अगर आपको पैसेज में मान लो 4 लोगों के बारे में दे दिया है, तो उनके कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स भी उसी समय पढ़ने पड़ेंगे. बार बार जाके वापस पैसेज नहीं देख पाओगे. ठीक है. वो फिजिट स्पिनर आंसर. ये उन्होंने कब ओपिनियन दिया था जो ए बोल रहे हो? ये कब बोला था मैक्स ब्रॉड ने? मैं 14 का आंसर पूछ रही हूँ. ये है ना अप्रिशिएटेड. डी. सिंपल है ये तो. The word relentlessly in the passage can be replaced by the word relentlessly. का क्या मतलब होता है? recklessly मतलब casually. reckless attitude जो कभी कभी तुम लोग कर देते हो. पेपर दिया गया पर सॉल्व नहीं करेंगे, खाना खा रहे हैं, बिस्किट खा रहे हैं, वो होता है reckless attitude. not taking due care and attention. इसमें काम आएगी वो जो वर्ड का लिस्ट दिया हुआ है, सिनोनिम्स, एंटोनिम्स. इसलिए पढ़ना पड़ेगा. क्या मतलब होता है इसका? ये क्या है? टायरलेसली काम किया उन्होंने. यही तो कह रहा है ना पैसेज में, कहां रिलेंटलेसली दिया हुआ है? ये देखो. Furthermore, Ignaz strived to prove his point so relentlessly. मतलब वो कोशिश करते रहे कि बस अपनी वो point prove कर पाए. Okay, cryptocurrencies are a terrible thing. They are the essence of Ponzi scheme whose value is based entirely on a greater fool prepared to buy it. ये zoom कर दूं? अच्छा, एक सेकंड. अब ठीक है? Fool prepared to buy it. Where is the fool gone? Huh. The promise of alchemy turning lead into gold has bewitched humanity throughout the ages, and cryptocurrencies are just the latest alchemy. Do not get me wrong. If rich people want to lose their money in this or any other way, they should be allowed to do so. The rich should be the vanguards of new things in case something unforeseen and good falls out of them. But we need to protect those vulnerable consumers whose lives are such that almost any get rich quick schemes will be seductive, and 7 out of 10 times they will lose their life savings. Cryptocurrencies are today's South Sea bubble, one of the earliest recorded financial bubbles that took place in the 1720s Britain. Meme-based currencies like Dogecoin, Dogelon Mass, and Doge Dash remind me of the infamous plan of one company during the South Sea bubble to raise money for carrying on an undertaking of the great advantage, but nobody to know what it is. The cryptocurrency bubble is worse than tulip mania. Through the veil of technology, cryptocurrency enthusiasts are leaning on policymakers to permit them to be exempt from regulation, privatize money, and make money so disconnected from the economy that it would reap financial disaster. There are many reasons to avoid financial disasters, but one of them is that they ratchet up poverty and inequality. The current money credit system is not perfect, but like democracy, it is the worst system barring all the others. It has evolved from the ashes of the system cryptocurrency enthusiasts are trying to resurrect. The current system is vulnerable to attack because money is little understood. Cryptocurrency enthusiasts have attracted a following based on the fiction that the central bank or the government creates money and are busy debasing it in their self-interest. This is not the case, but then again, there is some overlap between cryptocurrency advocates, conspiracy theorists, and anti-vaxxers. The time has come for someone to stand up for the current fiat money system and explain that while it could be better still, it has been associated with far more growth, much more distributed, and has responded better to economic crisis than what came before. In today's money credit system, banks create money when they issue a loan and place the loan's proceeds into the account of their customers, creating a deposit. Money is, in fact, a tradable debt. The bank's deposit can be used as cash because the bank is a regulated issuer of loans and deposit takers, which gives the deposit credibility and convertibility. The central bank only influences the creation of money indirectly by its regulatory requirement that the proportion of the loans need to be funded by shareholders' profits. They need to have skin in the game. Money creation then is based on the thousands of separate decisions by loan officers and is more distributed than a centralized algorithm like Bitcoin. And its supply is determined by the private demand for loans, which means it is closely aligned to the economy. Which of the following does best describe the attitude of the author towards the rich people? क्या आंसर है? ये तो बिल्कुल नहीं है, ये भी नहीं है, इन दोनों में बताओ. हाँ, ठीक है. तो क्या किया हमने? Eliminate. Which of the following is true in the context of this passage? क्या है? बताओ भाई, बाकी लोग? हाँ, क्या है आंसर? It's such a simple question. What's wrong with you guys? तुम एक मिनट चुप रहना, तुम बताओ. You guys tell me. What's the answer? Are you sure, all of you sure that you passed class 12 with English as a subject? क्या आंसर है इसका, शिविका? ये इस पैसेज का सबसे आसान सवाल है, इसलिए तुम लोगों को अटेम्प्ट करने में टाइम लग रहा है और पेपर अटेम्प्ट नहीं हो रहा है पूरा. क्या है आंसर इसका? शिविका, व्हाट्स द आंसर? Quickly, we don't have the entire day. Which rhetorical devices employed in cryptocurrencies are just the latest alchemy? Which one of the following does best describe the passage? ए है कि बी है? हाँ वही है. ए है कि बी है? आर्ग्यूमेंटेटिव एंड एक्सप्लेनेटरी होगा कि डिस्क्रिप्टिव एंड आर्ग्यूमेंटेटिव है? और एक्सपोजिटरी और आर्ग्यूमेंटेटिव नहीं हो सकता है? एक्सपोज कर रहा है वो. What do the cryptocurrency enthusiasts rely on? ये बताओ. Okay. वही है डी. All of the above. Okay. The fact that GIA, in her monstrous avatar, decided to distribute fossil fuels very unevenly across the earth has been central to the emergence of the world's current geopolitical order. From a vitalist point of view, it could be said that the wars of the 20th century were won as much by the fossilized energy of botanical matter as by the particular group of humans. In the First World War, Germany's lack of oil put it at a huge disadvantage against the Allies, more or less ensuring its defeat. The shortage of oil effectively cancelled the technological advantages Germany enjoyed at the start of the war, despite having a large fleet. For instance, it was unable to use its navy effectively because its coal burning ships needed to refuel every 11 days. Conversely, the assured supply of American oil conferred to great an advantage on Britain and France that it could be fairly stated that the war was won for the Western Allies by tankers. Not for nothing was it said of the First World War that Britain, France, and the United States floated to victory on a sea of oil. In the Second World War, the shortage of oil was even more critical to defeat of the Axis powers. The German Luftwaffe was forced to rely on synthetic fuels derived from coal, and these could not provide the high octane energy that was necessary for high compression aero engines. It was largely due to the inferior engines in German aircraft that the Luftwaffe lost the Battle of Britain. The shortage of oil also dictated Germany's war strategy. It was in order to seize the oil fields of the Caucasus that the German army pushed eastward into the Soviet Union in 1942, leading to a defeat at Stalingrad from which it never recovered. Japan's invasion of the Dutch East Indies was similarly forced by its lack of oil. In short, over the course of the 20th century, access to oil became the central focus of global geopolitical strategy. For a great power, to be able to ensure or hinder the flow of oil was to have a thumb on the jugulars of its adversaries. In the first part of the 20th century, the guarantor of the flow of the oil was Britain. After the Second World War, the baton was passed along with a string of British naval bases to the United States. The role of the guarantor of the global energy flows is still crucial to the US strategic dominance and to its position as global hegemon. Today, as Elizabeth DeLaury has pointed out, US energy policy has become increasingly militarized and secured by the Navy, the largest oceanic force on the planet. In the words of historian Michael Clare, the Iraq War of 2003 marked the transformation of the US military into a global oil protection service guarding pipelines, refineries, and loading facilities in the Middle East and elsewhere. It is important to note that the strategic value of controlling oil flows is tangentially related to the US's energy requirement. The period in which the American military was turning into a global oil protection service was one in which the US was well on its way to reducing its dependence on imported oil. The fact that the US is now self sufficient in fossil fuels has in no way diminished the strategic importance of oil as an instrument for the projection of power. It is the ability to deny energy supplies to rivals that is strategically of central importance. What is the central idea of the passage? Yes. What was the cause of Germany's defeat in the First World War? ए है कि डी है? नेवी मजबूत थी? आफ्टर एवरी 11 आवर्स, यही तो लिखा था ना? तो क्या हुआ? Which of the following could be inferred from Michael Clare's opinion on US military? Hmm? मेरी समझ से तो डी होगा. What does the phrase tangentially related to mean? Tangent क्या होता है? क्या होगा आंसर इसका? क्या लिखा है? It is important to note that the strategic value of controlling oil flows is tangentially related to the US's energy requirements. मतलब ऑयल फ्लो कंट्रोल करने का जो प्रोसेस है वो क्या है? रिलेटेड टू द यूएस's एनर्जी रिक्वायरमेंट्स. अब बताओ, बी भी तो कंसिडर करो, बी होगा आंसर, क्लोजली एंड सेंट्रली। मेरी समझ से देखो, स्लाइटली तो 100% नहीं है, ये है ना। उसको ऐसे सोचो, that person has the power to draw all the discussions on his tangent, मतलब अपने आप पे करना, उसके पास ये पावर है कि वो किसी भी डिस्कशन को अपने टेंजेंट पे मोड़ सकता है, मतलब अपने डिस्क्रिशन पे। तो क्या होगा आंसर? ठीक है। What makes the US strategically dominating global hegemon? ठीक है, everybody agrees with D. Good. The modern animal rights movement, which originated in 1970s, may be understood as a reaction to the dominant emphasis within science and religion, principally, though not exclusively, Christianity. When the Jesuit Joseph Rickaby wrote in 1888 that brute beasts not having understanding and therefore not being persons cannot have any rights, and that we have no duties of charity or duties of any kind to the lower animals as किसका? क्या आ रहा है? तो सी होना चाहिए आंसर। आई चेक द यूसेज वंस मोर देन, है ना। इसको फिर होल्ड करते हैं, मैं एक बार इससे और सेंटेंसेस में यूसेज इसका देख लेती हूँ कि किस उसमें यूज कर रहा है, क्योंकि मेरी समझ से तो इसका मतलब यही होना चाहिए। इसमें देखो ना, it is important to note that the strategic value of controlling oil flows is tangentially related to the US's energy requirements. तो इंपॉर्टेंट टू नोट क्यों होता ये अगर रिमोटली रिलेटेड होता तो? इंपॉर्टेंट टू नोट क्यों लिखा हुआ है? मैं वो नहीं कह रही, मैं तो ये कह रही हूँ, जो मैं कह रही हूँ वो समझो। क्या करना है ये देखो तुम, आंसर शीट देख करके आंसर अगर चेक करोगे तो फायदा क्या है? आंसर की भी, हर एग्जाम के आंसर की 4 बार रिवाइज होती है, तो यू शुड ट्रस्ट योर विम्स एंड फैंसीज रादर देन ट्रस्टिंग एनीथिंग। चलो we'll सी दिस, फिर भी एक बार इसको देख लेते हैं, ठीक है। और किसी सेंटेंस में या पैसेज में टेंजेंशियली रिलेटेड का यूज अगर उसी सेंस में हुआ है, जैसे रिमोटली रिलेटेड में, तो फिर रिमोटली ही होगा, है ना। यूसेज चेक करो उसका, यूसेज पता चल जाएगा फिर, ठीक है। तब तक ये देखते हैं। हाँ, इसका आंसर तो क्लियर हो गया था ना 25th का। यूसेज डाल के देखो तो किसी पैराग्राफ में या सेंटेंस में मिल जाएगा तो क्लियर हो जाएगा। और ओके, that insensitivity is the result of an amalgam of influences. The first, and for many years the most dominant, was the otherworldly or world denying tendency in Christianity, which has at its worst denigrated the value of earthly things in comparison with things spiritual. Traditional Catholicism has divided the world into those beings that possess reason and therefore immortal souls, and those that do not. Christian spirituality has not consciously been at home with the world of non-human creatures, either animal or vegetable. Classic accounts of eternal life, as found in Augustine of Hippo, Thomas Aquinas, or John Calvin, make little or no reference to the world of animals. Animals, it seems, are mere transient or peripheral beings in an otherwise wholly human centric economy of salvation. The second idea, common to Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, is that animals, along with vegetables and minerals, exist instrumentally in relation to human beings. They are made for human beings, even belong to human beings as resources in creation. This idea predates Christianity and is found notably in Aristotle, who argues that since nature makes nothing to no purpose, it must be that nature has made them for the sake of man. This idea, largely unsupported by scripture, was nevertheless taken over by Aquinas, who conceived of creation as a rational hierarchy in which the intellectually inferior existed for the sake of intellectually superior. Such instrumentalism, which features rationality as the key factor dividing human beings from the brute beasts, has in turn buttressed the third influence, namely the notion of human superiority in creation. Human superiority need not by itself have led to the neglect of animal life, but when combined with the biblical ideas of being made in the image of God and God's preferential choice to become incarnate in human form, some sense of moral as well as theological ascendancy was indicated. As a result, Christianity and to a lesser extent Judaism has been characterized historically by an overwhelming concern for humanity in creation rather than an egalitarian concern for all forms of God given life. That humans are more important than animals and that they self evidently merit moral solicitude in a way that animals cannot has become religious doctrine. Thus, the Catechism of the Catholic Church maintains that it is unworthy to spend money on them, that should, as a priority, go to the relief of the human misery. These influences have in turn enabled and justified the scientific exploration of natural world and specifically the subjection of animals to experimentation. Francis Bacon pursued his scientific investigations in the belief that humanity should recover that right over nature which belongs to it by divine bequest. Rene Descartes famously likened the movements of a swallow to the workings of a clock and maintained that there is no prejudice to which we are more accustomed from our earliest years than the belief that dumb animals think. उसका आंसर क्या निकला? इनडायरेक्टली दिखा रहा है तो फिर वही होगा. Then let's take that as an answer. But I still have my doubts, so I will check. I did not attend this meeting, arrange this meeting. It is important to note that the strategic value of controlling oil flows is tangentially related to the US's energy requirements. The period in which the American military was turning into a global oil protection service was one in which the US was well on its way to reducing its dependence on imported oil. The fact that the US is now self-sufficient in fossil fuels has in no way diminished the strategic importance of oil as an instrument for the projection of power. It is the ability to deny energy supplies to rivals that is strategically of central importance. अब बताओ. फिर तो यही होना चाहिए आंसर. What are we going with? बिकॉज अगर उसका यूसेज भी यही कह रहा है ना दैट इट इज नॉट डायरेक्टली रिलेटेड, तब फिर यही होगा, रिलेटेड ओनली स्लाइटली एंड पेरिफेरली। फिर ये इंपॉर्टेंट क्यों हुआ नोट करना, आई डोंट नो। हाँ क्या कह, हाँ पेरिफेरी का तो मतलब बॉर्डर होता है, पेरिफेरी का मतलब तो बॉर्डर होता है, पेरिफेरल रूप से पेरिफेरल कुछ भी पेरिफेरी अगर आ गया तो मतलब सिर्फ बॉर्डर बॉर्डर बॉर्डर। चलो देन विल गो विद दिस, related only slightly and peripherally, we'll go with this only then, related only slightly and peripherally। okay चलो ये बताओ, Jesuit Joseph's Rickaby's articulation on animals may be termed as, सुना है ये पैसेज ध्यान से, समझ में आया है तो बता दो आंसर्स, सुन लिया है अगर ध्यान से तो आ गया होगा। दोबारा पढ़ो ये पैसेज, पढ़ो पढ़ो पढ़ो, रीड इट, जब पढ़ लेना लेट मी नो, आई फॉरवर्ड इट। आगे करें, सबने पढ़ लिया है, पढ़ लो पढ़ लो पढ़ लो पढ़ लो, हम्म हो गया, बताओ आंसर, मतलब क्योंकि उसी का मतलब समझ में आ रहा है, बाकी कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है। फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ फिर से पढ़ो. ठीक है, अब बताओ. Answer. I want one cumulative answer from all of you. Hmm? Hmm? क्या मतलब होता है इसका? क्या? एंड्रोसेंट्रिक और एंथ्रोपोसेंट्रिक. तो ये होगा कि ये होगा? इसका क्या मतलब है? सब. तो सब आ गया ना. और ये एथनिसिटी पता है क्या होता है? एथनिसिटी बोला मैंने. जीन्स कैसे हैं कि एथनिसिटी वो होती है कहां से कैसे आप बिलोंग करते हो ना. एथिक्स नहीं है ये. बता दिया ना उसने मतलब. एंथ्रोपोसेंट्रिक का मतलब बता दिया ना उसने. Okay. अब next आओ. According to the author, how did Christianity contribute to insensitivity of the West towards animals? अब ये बताओ कि अगर मान लो ऊपर वाले का आंसर नहीं आता था तो क्या करते? हाँ, गलत मत मार्क करके आना. नेगेटिव मार्किंग है 0.25 की, भूलना मत. According to the author, how did Christianity contribute to insensitivity of the West towards animals? क्या आंसर है इसका? हाँ. सी. Which of the following is closest to the meaning of instrumentalism as used in the passage? कहाँ यूज हुआ था? मिल गया मिल गया. क्या बताया आंसर आपने इसका? हाँ, ठीक है. ओके. Which of the following is not true in the context of the passage? Not true पूछा है. Not true. इन पे ध्यान रखना. True, not true, not possible. कहाँ not लिखा है, कहाँ खाली word दिया है, ये be careful. बताएं. या मत, या डोंट गिव मी एन ऑप्शन. ये ए है मैम, नहीं तो बी है, तो दैट इज ऑब्वियस ना कि ए बी सी डी में से तो कोई तो एक हो गई. डी कितने लोग कह रहे हैं? डी, डी फॉर डोंकी. मेरे हिसाब से तो यही है, डी. Some of the scientific views on animals have been influenced by religious notions about them. क्या पूछ रहा है? Which is not true in the context of the passage ना. Not true पूछा है ना, तो ये true है क्या? Some of the scientific views on animals have been influenced by religious notions about them. तो it may be inferred from Dean Descartes' view that सब साथ में एग्जाम देने चलेंगे, सबका एग्जाम निकल जाएगा, है ना. अरे बताओ. It may be inferred from the view that कहाँ दिए हैं इसके व्यूज. हाँ. There is no prejudice to which we are more accustomed from our earliest years than the belief that dumb animals think. ठीक है. चलो. This is going to be the last question that we do for the day, and then you'll do what you're supposed to practice. इसके बाद आप पहले sentences बनाएंगे, ठीक है, फिर बाकी की practice exercise करेंगे. हाँ, और कैसे बनाए जाते हैं sentences, तान्या? I grew up in a small town not far from Kalimpong. In pre-liberalization India, everything arrived late, not just material things, but also ideas. ये करा चुके हैं हम? अच्छा सर करवा चुके हैं, ठीक है, ओके फाइन, गुड. मतलब ये तुम्हें और कम प्रैक्टिस करना है. Until the Keladi site was discovered, archaeologists by and ये वाला. Until the Keladi site was discovered, archaeologists by and large believed that the Gangetic plains in the north. IVC. अच्छा चलो सुनो. Until the Keladi site was discovered, archaeologists by and large believed that the Gangetic plains in the north urbanized significantly earlier than Tamil Nadu. Historians have often claimed that the large-scale town life in India first developed in the Great Magad region of the Gangetic Basin. This was during the second urbanization phase. The first urbanization phase refers to the rise of the Harappan or the Indus Valley civilization. Tamil Nadu was thought to have urbanized at this scale only by the 3rd century BC. The findings at the Keladi push that date back significantly. Based on linguistics and continuity in cultural legacies, connections between the Indus Valley Civilization or IVC and the old Tamil traditions have long been suggested, but concrete archaeological evidence remained absent. इसका क्या मतलब होता है? Language based. Excellent. Evidence indicated similarities between graffiti found in Keladi and symbols associated with the IVC. It bolstered the arguments of dissidents from the dominant North Indian imagination who have argued for years that their ancestors existed contemporaneously with the IVC. All the archaeologists I spoke to said it was too soon to make definitive links between the Keladi site and the IVC. There is no doubt, however, that the discovery at Keladi has changed the paradigm. In recent years, the results of any new research on early India have invited keen political interest because proponents of Hindu nationalism support the notion of Vedic culture as fundamental to the origins of the Indian civilization. The Keladi excavations further challenge the idea of single fountainhead of Indian life. They indicate the possibility that the earliest identity that can recognizably be considered Indian might not have originated in North India. That wasn't all. In subsequent seasons of Keladi dig, archaeologists discovered that Tamili, a variant of the Brahmi script used for writing inscriptions in the early iterations of the Tamil language, could be dated back to the 6th century BCE, likely 100 years before previously thought. So not only had urban life thrived in the Tamil lands, but people who lived there had developed their own script. The evolution of writing is attributed to Ashoka's edicts. But 2600 years ago, writing was prevalent in Keladi. Matham Kurupai, a proud Madurai local, told me a farmer could write his own name on a pot he owned. The fight going on here is you are not the one to teach me to write. I have learnt it myself. Excerpted from the dig by Soumya Ashok, 52. Ab ye batao. What was the assumption about the origin of urban life in India before the Keladi dig? बताओ. ये है पक्का 100%. The Keladi excavations further challenge the idea of single fountainhead of Indian life. In elaboration of this sentence, which of these options follows? Sorry, I need to show you the options before that. Yeah. जल्दी आज ही करना है. बोलो आंसर. बी नहीं है. बी नहीं है. मतलब मैं पूछ रही हूँ, बताओ. थिंक अबाउट इट. अच्छा बताओ बी. ये बताओ पहले. अच्छा इधर देखो तुम पहले। ये क्या है, ये पढ़ो। Might have not originated in North India. ठीक है, अभी रुको, अब ये देखो क्या कह रहा है। बताओ। हम्म, सी, लेट्स ऑल गो विथ सी देन। ठीक है, पक्का। स्टिल आई चेक वंस मोर। The Keladi excavations further challenge the idea of single fountainhead in life. In elaboration of this sentence, which of this following options follows? The Keladi archaeological dig proved that Indian urban and modern life emerged independently in several historical periods and geographies, and no one theory is enough to explain it. या फिर neither the IVC nor the ancient urban civilization of Magad are clear explanations of how urban life emerged in Keladi region of southern India in the 3rd century BC. The Kiladi excavations further challenge the idea of single fountainhead of Indian life. I think I would also want to go with C. Let's all go with C. Most appropriate वही लग रहा है अभी मुझे फिलहाल. Okay. Language including a script similar to Brahmi emerged in Keladi in the 6th century BC. Which of the following is the most convincing conclusion from this statement? बताओ. जल्दी statement का conclusion दो इसका. इसका बताओ पहले, उसके ऊपर जो पूछा है 8th का बताओ. 8th. मेरे हिसाब से तो सी है. I think the most appropriate answer is C. Read it. Language, including a script similar to Brahmi script, emerged in Keladi in 6th century BC. Which of the following is the most convincing conclusion from this statement? Ancient urban history of India as we know it today could significantly be altered by the findings of the advances achieved by the Keladi civilization. Statement समझ में आया? और Keladi is a center of culture and learning far superior to any others in ancient India. ये हमको कैसे पता? पैराग्राफ में तो कंपैरिजन हो रहा है ना पूरे पैसेज में. मेरे हिसाब से द मोस्ट अप्रोप्रिएट वन शुड बी सी. व्हाट डू यू सजेस्ट? लेट्स गो विद सी देन. नो, ऐसा नहीं है कि द लीडर इज ऑलवेज राइट. ऐसा नहीं है. द लीडर कैन बी रॉन्ग ऑल्सो, डेफिनेटली. सो बट आई सजेस्ट इट शुड बी सी. व्हाट शुड बी द आंसर अकॉर्डिंग टू यू? देखो, बी तो 100% नहीं है और डी भी नहीं है. ठीक है, अब ए और सी में बचा. तो आई थिंक मोस्ट अप्रोप्रिएट कंक्लूजन स्टेटमेंट का जो है वो सी होगा, है ना? ओके. 9th का तो आंसर तान्या ने बताया. BCE is the acronym for है ना. और यही ध्यान नहीं देने में गलत हो जाएगा. मैम मैंने ध्यान नहीं दिया, फिर आई अगर तुम तान्या रोती रोती, मैम मैंने ध्यान नहीं दिया, तो प्लीज ध्यान दीजिए. ये एक्सरसाइज आपके साथ साथ मैं इसलिए कर रही हूँ, मुझे पेपर नहीं देना है, ठीक है, ताकि आप ध्यान दीजिए. आप बताइए. अच्छा चलो 10th का बताओ. A farmer could write his own name on a pot he owned. The fight going on here is you are not the one to teach me to write. I have learnt it myself. These sentences imply देखो ये तो बिल्कुल नहीं है. ठीक है, तो ये भी नहीं है. हाँ, I think T had the Keladi civilization did not conserve the access to education and literacy only for the elite. That's also a good point. T had the Keladi civilization was an inegalitarian one. नहीं, इनइगैलिटेरियन कह रहा है, इगैलिटेरियन नहीं बोल रहा है. These sentences imply a farmer could write his own name on a pot he owned. The fight going on here is you are not the one to teach me. I have learnt it myself. These sentences imply T had the Keladi civilization was an inegalitarian one. Egalitarian शब्द का क्या मतलब होता है? तभी तो हम पूछ रहे हैं, इसीलिए सवाल पूछा है कंसोर्टियम ने. इनइगैलिटेरियन ना, ये क्या लिया हुआ है? इन लिखा हुआ है ना यहाँ पे. ठीक है, ओके. एक और करें? अब थक गए? थक गए. अच्छा, अभी उस तो फिर एक काम ये करो, सुनो सुनो सुनो, मेरी बात सुनो पहले. अब नाउ व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू डू, विल फर्स्ट नो ब्रेक. नो ब्रेक नहीं, खाना अभी बाद में खाना. फर्स्ट यू आर गोइंग टू डू नो ब्रेक. मुझे मेरे क्वेश्चन का आंसर दो ढूंढ के फटाफट, पहले तो यही दो. एक्सीलेंट. फुल फॉर्म में बता दो तुम लोग. एक्सीलेंट. अब क्या हो गया है? ओके, एक्सरसाइज 7 एंड फॉर्म 10 सेंटेंसेस। आपको 10 वर्ड्स दिए हुए हैं, ये आप पहले ये 10 सेंटेंसेस बना लो बस, ठीक है। आप ये 10 सेंटेंसेस बनाओ, उसके बाद 10 मिनट्स का ब्रेक ले लेना, एंड देन नेक्स्ट ऑन द एजेंडा इज गोइंग टू बी these two practice sheets. They have to be finished before you go home. हो सकता है कि नहीं हो सकता है। अब 10 सेंटेंस बनाओ, नहीं बन नहीं जाएगा ऐसे ही पे, अब बनाओ 10 सेंटेंस, ठीक है। नाउ हाँ, लिख के दिखाना है मुझे, और एआई जनरेटेड सेंटेंसेस नहीं होने चाहिए। इतनी इंग्लिश में सबकी जानती हूँ कि क्या लेवल की है, ठीक है। सो इफ यू शो मी एआई जनरेटेड सेंटेंसेस आई विल बी एबल टू गेस इट, ठीक है। चलिए, ओके, नाउ वी कंटिन्यू विद द प्रैक्टिस सेशन, ठीक है। ओके, all the students who are watching us online, these exercises would be available on our Telegram channel. Thank you. Chalo.